today. There's a card going down this weekend that I'm going to try to make the attempts to make it sound extremely exciting. It's going to be hard because we're all on a UFC 295 hangover, a bender that just won't end. You took a leave, but it's still kicking. But there are some good scraps on this upcoming card this Saturday, and we're going to get into them right now on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. We about to get off into it, starting out with the very first fight. Well, actually, first off, I will say there are a couple of fights where different fighters have fallen out on this card, so I'm not going to talk about those fights because I'm not too sure who the backup opponent is. There's a lot of things kind of up in the air on who's taking these fights on short notice. So I'm not going to cover those fights. It's really only about two, but let's move on. Let's start out with the very first fight where I'm over here checking my Nizzos. As we see, Charles Johnson will step in the octagon against Rafael Estevam. Look, man, in this fight, I've always been a big fan of Charles Johnson. I like his fighting style. I like his striking because when he really gets focused and he's in it, I mean, that man is extremely dynamic with how he puts together his punches and kicks. However, I will say he's just not the most reliable fighter. You know what I'm saying? Homie's like that one cousin that you got, you know what I'm saying? Where, you might set him up with a little job interview. You done told him everything. You like, bro, all you got to do is show up at this time. I talked to the guy, went to high school with this guy. He's going to hire you. Just make sure you show up on time and you dress nice. And he's the homie. He shows up 20 minutes late. He got a story. He got a flat tire on the way to the job interview. He's showing up. He got on sweatpants and a polo shirt. You know what I'm talking about? He got on Jordans in the job interview. You know what I'm saying? There's always somebody that they got all the skills in the world. They are their own worst enemy. And to me, I kind of feel like that about Charles Johnson. He's a really good fighter, but he's not reliable to go in there and perform like he should. Now, he might go out here and style on old boy, but in this, I'm actually going to go along with Estevam. I think that he's going to be able to handle Charles Johnson's striking on the feet, and if it goes to the ground, I would give him the slight edge over Charles. We got Trey Ogden stepping in there against Nicholas Mota. Okay, here's the deal. I'm going to go along with Nicholas on this one. I'm just not a big fan of Trey Ogden. I'm not saying that he's not a good fighter. I'm not saying that he is. But I don't know. He's just not my guy. He's just not for me. Not saying that Nicholas is, but I'm going to go along with Nicholas on this. I think that even though he's not as rangy or doesn't have the length that Trey Ogden has, I still think he's going to be able to go in here and get the job done. On this one, we got Lucy Padova stepping in there against Aline Perez. Look, man, I'm going to go along with Lucy. Aline Perez, and shout out to these ladies, shout out to these women. There's no disrespect at all because you got to go out here, you got to get that check, you got to get that money. But she kind of falls in that category of, female fighters that are fairly good fighters. They're not the best fighters by no means. They're not going to the top of the division. They're fairly good. They're just kind of like fighters that UFC uses when they want to prop up another female, like make her look really good, So I would say that they're better than cans, but at the same time, they're just kind of used to prop up their opponent. And they tend to kind of go the Instagram promotion route, partnering up with a lot of different brands, a lot of different deals. Some of them tend to go the OnlyFans route. You know what I'm talking about? Some of them don't even go that route. They get some off version OnlyFans. Like, you be like, bro, what is What type of service is that? Oh, this is Only Freaks. You need to come check me out over at Only Freaks. Or if you can't make it to Only Freaks, check me out on Just Fans. Like they be coming with some offers and stuff. Like, bruh, like ma'am, you couldn't even get something going on OnlyFans. You had to go with Just Fans. You know what I'm talking about? So anyway, she to me, I'm not disrespecting her like that, but she kind of to me seems like that. I mean, she's really out here. I think she's making her money in other ways, probably off pictures, brand deals, different things like that. I don't know. I'm going to go along with Lucy on this one. I think Lucy's got the ground game to be able to capitalize on her. And if it's on the feet, I don't think that Perez is the best striker where she's just going to blow the doors off Lucy. So I'm going to go along with Lucy Padovla to get this fight here, or to get this win, I should say. Jeka Sariga stepping in there against Lucas Alexander. I'm going to go along with Lucas Alexander. I just haven't really been I haven't really been impressed at all by what Jika brings to the table, or Jeka. I'm gonna go along with Lucas Alexander. I mean, Lucas Alexander, he hasn't been setting the world on fire, but at the same time, I think he's a comparable fighter. I think he can go out there and get the job done. Let's move on. I got Mick Parkins stepping in there against Kyle Machado. Let's start out. I think Mick Parkins is all right. I think he's all right. Like, when I saw his debut fight, for one, he trains with Tom Aspinall, the new interim heavyweight champion of the world. And I will say, while he doesn't have the best look to him, he's not a guy that you're going to be like, oh, that guy looks good getting off the bus. He ain't that guy. But at the same time, I think he does got hands. He's got pretty good timing, and he has hands, but he's not like a guy that's he's not a power striker to me. I haven't seen that yet. Now, he might be, and I just haven't seen it. But to me, I think he puts together good combinations, especially for a heavyweight. And I think he has fast hands for a heavyweight. I think he has good timing for a heavyweight. You see a lot of heavyweights, they don't really worry about the timing of their punches. They're just out there slugging away, or they kind of throw like a half-hearted jab out and then follow it with a power shot, like a half-hearted left jab followed by like an extremely strong right hand behind it. But this guy, he has pretty good timing, and he kind of waits on his opponents to a certain extent and kind of tries to figure out their timing or their striking, as well as I think he's fairly good at counter striking. Or counter punching, I guess I should say. So I'm going to go along with Mick Parkin to go ahead and get the win here. Now, the next fight was supposed to be Christian Leroy Duncan fighting. His opponent dropped out. I believe he has a replacement opponent, but it definitely hasn't been confirmed on the UFC site yet, so I'm not going to pick that. However, the opponent I believe that he's facing, I believe is Dennis Tululin, and if that is the case, I would go along with Christian Leroy Duncan. I think he's an outstanding striker, and, I think that the UFC might see something in him, so a lot of the times you're going to see them try to give him favorable matchups, but I'm not sure if Dennis is his new opponent, so I'm not going to speak on that. Chad and Helliger stepping in there against Jose Johnson. Look, man, I'm going to go along with Jose Johnson. I like the man's striking style. I like how he moves. He's somewhat elusive, in the way he moves. He kind of snakes his way into range and starts landing hard strikes. So I'm going to go along with Jose Johnson to go ahead and get the job done in this one. I think he could be. I'm not saying that he is, but he might, with a few wins, he might be an interesting prospect at bantamweight. Let's move on. We got Jonathan Pierce stepping in there against Joe Anderson Brito. I got to go along with Brito. That man, when he swings his fist, it's like he's swinging two hammers. You know what I'm saying? And, for featherweight, bro, this man is out there chucking mitts. And when he swings, he puts his entire body into a swing. It's almost like when you see like a professional baseball pitcher. The way this guy swings a punch, he is literally throwing his whole body into the punch. And He knocks out guys in devastating fashion. He's a wild guy. You never know. He goes spinning elbows, spinning back fists. He's a fairly good kicker. I'm not knocking his kicks, but his hands are truly, this man comes from some crazy angles, and unless he gasses, he never stops. He never stops trying to get the edge on his opponent. And even when he goes to the ground, he's an extremely good scrambler. So I'm gonna go along with Joe Anderson Brito to get the win there over Jonathan Pierce. I don't think Jonathan Pierce is a bad fighter, but something tells me that Brito's going to be able to catch him with a few shots to kind of stun him. And I kind of think Jonathan Pierce is going to bite down his mouthpiece and think that he could actually, uh, try to, get into a pissing contest, so to speak, with Brito and try to knock him out on the feet, and then he will get knocked out. And if it goes to the ground, I think that he might get the better of him in the wrestling, but when Brito scrambles, he scrambles. And I believe he'll be able to get back to his feet in these scrambles and then be able to get, lay Pierce out straight up. So I'm going to go along with Joe Anderson Brito in this fight. Let's move on. As I check my Nizzos on my Fizzone. Let's see what else we got here. We got Luana Pinheiro stepping in there against Amanda Ribas. Man, Amanda Ribas, I'm actually going to go along with Luana on this. Now, I haven't seen any evidence that Luana is really a good fighter at all, to tell you the truth. Right? And looking at her, I think we kind of see why the UFC signed her and why she's around. You know what I'm saying? UFC kind of likes to, UFC, when you look at their cards, especially their big shows, like their pay-per-views, it's kind of like, they have different female fighters that are used as appetizers. They have different female fighters that are used as the main course. Then they got a few female fighters that look really good, you know what I'm saying, but might not be the best. So I would kind of look at them kind of like, almost like parsley, just kind of sprinkle a little parsley on your plate, you know what I'm saying, get a little Salt Bae in there, you know what I'm saying. That's how I kind of view her. And Amanda Ribas is a pretty good fighter. However, Amanda Ribas, I believe, has taken way too much damage in her career. And she hasn't had this extremely long career, so I mean, it's not like she's old or anything. But she's just taken a ton of damage, and she's extremely chinny. And one thing about her is once she gets landed on, like hard, solid, Amanda Ribas, she ain't no punk. So when she gets landed on hard, she literally bites on that mouthpiece and she's just ha ha, and she starts throwing those strikes. But the thing is at times she kind of throws them kind of similar to Mackenzie Dern in a way, or at least Mackenzie Dern in her last fight. And Ribas she'll throw those strikes, she'll throw those hands, but she leaves a lot of openings to get countered, to get caught. And I'm not saying that Luana is good enough to counter her or catch her at all. But Ribas is extremely chinny. And I think that if Luana can land anything on the feet, or if it does get into a grappling encounter, if she can land any short elbows, any short punches in a scramble or from top position at all, I think she can get Ribas out of there. Now I'm probably going to eat these words. This is a sneaky, sneaky, sneaky underdog pick. You know what I'm saying? But Amanda Ribas, bro, I mean, it's just, she's like too tough for her own good. And when she gets hit with some solid shots, she tends to just see red and she starts going ham with her strikes and her technique goes all out the window. And because of that, I'm going to go along with Luana to get this win. And I feel bad about that because I like Amanda Ribas, but I don't like how she's been looking here lately. Moving on, we got Peyton Talbot stepping in there against Nick Aguirre. All right, here's the thing, man. Peyton looked good on the Contender Series. He's a really good striker. A little bit of slightly kind of his style of striking is kind of flashy, even though it's not really flashy. You know, he's a long, skinny, kind of rangy guy. You know what I'm saying? So usually those guys strike with a lot of speed, and they come with really crazy, unorthodox angles. But I'm gonna go along with Peyton to get the win here. Moving on. Next fight, we got Chase Hooper stepping in there against Jordan Levitt. I'm gonna go along with Jordan Levitt. I'm not a Chase Hooper fan. Shout out to Chase Hooper. Looks like he's a nice dude, but I'm just not a big Chase Hooper fan. I'm not a big Jordan Levitt fan at all, but I believe that the way that Jordan Levitt is built, he's not the best striker, but the way his body is built, if he lands, he's I'm not saying he has knockout power, but if he lands, he can stun a guy. You know what I'm saying? If he lands with those hands, you're gonna stop back from like, did Jordan Levitt just hit me? Like, you're gonna pause for a second. You know what I'm saying? And well, honestly, dealing with Jordan Levitt, there's a lot of pauses, if you know what I mean. But if he lands a good strike on you, the way he's built, because he strikes kind of heavy handed, but I wouldn't say it's knockout power, but he's just built funny. You know what I'm saying? And when he lands, it kind of thuds to a certain extent, and it kind of stuns his opponents. And in that split second, if he drags you to the ground, if he takes you down, if he, I mean, the man has a crazy submission style. And so all he needs is a few seconds, a few times of stunning you. And if he stuns you, it's over. Because if the man gets you down to the ground, he can grapple. I mean, homie can grapple, and he's not afraid, in a sense, to have all of the crowd booing him. And I know it's going to be in the Apex, so it won't be a lot of fans, but he's not worried about being booed at all. So he'll lay on the ground with you and really work, really work, really work till he gets in a good position to submit you or possibly knock you out with elbows or ground strikes. Now, when you talk about Chase Hooper is horrible at striking. Horrible. So he's always looking to get it to the ground. And I would say, due to the way that Jordan Levitt is built and his physicality, I believe that if he goes to the ground, Chase Hooper, I should say, it's his correct name, is in a world of trouble. So I'm going to go along with Jordan Levitt to get the win. Next, we got Michael Morales stepping in there with Jake Matthews. I got Michael Morales. I know we haven't seen hardly anything from him in the UFC. He just started, but Jake Matthews is sometimey to me. He's another guy that, kind of like Charles Johnson, he's another guy, he's not really reliable. He's very inconsistent to me. So I'm going to go along with Michael Morales. I love the way Michael Morales strikes. I like how he definitely has a chin on him, and he eats shots just to show, like, bro, I ain't tripping. I can eat your shots. That might not be the best tactic against Jake Matthews. However, I like Michael Morales. I like the way he strikes. The way he punches like, I get a vision that it's almost like if you have a white sheet of paper in front of you, you got a piece of paper. Michael Morales for sure is one of those guys that strikes to send his fists through the paper. He's not striking to just bash through the paper. He's not striking to barely touch the paper and have extremely fast hands. He's striking almost like you stick a knife through the paper, like, and bring it back out. To me, that's how he strikes. And I might be totally off on this. I don't know anything. I've never fought. But he strikes almost like with precision and power. Like he's just going to go straight through and pull his hand back out. That might be a really strange way to describe it, but that's just how your boy Matt is describing it. Holla at me. Anyway, I've got to go along with Michael Morales on this one. Brendan Allen stepping in there against Paul Craig. Here's the deal, man. Shout out to Paul Craig. You know what I'm saying? Paul Craig is awesome. You know what I'm saying? He's a good interviewer. He's got pizzazz. He's got swag. You know what I'm talking about? He's got a beautiful beard. You know what I'm talking about? When he lands his strikes, he lands with a lot of power. His technique at striking, I don't think is really good at all. And he kind of strikes, in my opinion, he strikes as a means to get his opponent to the ground. He's not really striking to necessarily hurt his opponents per se. He's not using a ton of technique. He's not doing a lot of reads. He's not throwing out a lot of things to test out anything. Not not the best jab, but he's a powerful guy. So when he does land, you're going to feel it. You know what I'm saying? You might even be dropped. But, I mean, he's down a weight class. He's going to be extremely huge for this weight class. But Brendan Allen is a really good striker. Brendan Allen is light on his feet. He dances. He moves. He's a really good counter striker. So against somebody like Paul Craig, who doesn't have a ton of striking technique, it should be pretty easy for Brendan Allen to be able to land a few counter shots. He should be able to kind of slip his way around Paul Craig's punches. You know what I'm saying? As well as, if it goes to the ground, Brendan Allen has a good scrambling chance. Brendan Allen has some good chokes. Like, don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? He's got some good head and arm chokes and everything he can pull out. He'll lock up a Darce. You know what I'm saying? He ain't tripping. I would say if it goes to the ground, Brendan Allen needs to scramble quickly. Extremely quickly. You don't want to be laying around the ground and give Paul Craig a chance. Because with the slightest chance, Paul Craig slaps on triangles. He slaps on anything extremely fast. And it's so sudden, and he's such a powerful man. I think a lot of guys don't even have the chance or the opportunity to fight whatever submission he's locking on. So if he locks it on, you're pretty much going out. So, that's part of that. So if it goes to the ground, Brendan Allen is going to have to scramble. He's going to have to scramble extremely fast, extremely quick. And he might be able to latch on the Darce or anything in there, but I wouldn't even try that on Paul Craig. So, honestly, bro, I'm going to have to go along with Brendan Allen. I know he's going to be outsized here by Paul Craig, but, man, I just think that Brendan Allen is going to be able to really piece him up on the feet. And when it does go to the ground, I think that Brendan Allen is going to be able to scramble back to his feet before Paul Craig can cinch on a choke of some sort or latch on some sort of a submission. Also, another thing about Paul Craig is when he continues to keep getting beaten up on the feet, he'll just lay on his back, or he'll pull guard, or he'll just lay on his back, kind of inviting his opponent down. And then that's when he latches on that triangle or anything. So I would say Brendan Allen doesn't need to fall for the okie doke. If you keep piecing him up on the feet, you keep on dropping Paul Craig, he keeps falling to the ground, don't fall for it. Don't try to go down there and strike with him or anything. Back up, look at the referee, casually motion like this, the referee will stand him up. That needs to be wash, rinse, and repeat. Oh, I floored Paul Craig? Hold on, ref. Let me back up. Motion to the ref. I want him back on his feet. You need to just keep on doing that. Nevertheless, I'm going to go along with Brendan Allen to get the win here. So, that's it. That's the card. That's the end of the tweet. You know what I'm saying? This Saturday night, it's going down. UFC, Brendan Allen stepping in there against Paul Craig. Paul Craig. You know what I'm saying? That's the main event. That's the card. I'd say by Saturday, maybe our UFC 295 hangover might have subsided a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You got to get you a little Aleve. You know what I'm saying? Drink you a few cup of coffee. Drink your coffee black. Be a man. Be a man. No creamer. Just pure black coffee. You know what I'm saying? Hey, how you take your coffee? Black. You know what I'm saying? Drink you some coffee. Try to get out of that UFC 295 hangover, and we'll see what it is. Nevertheless, I appreciate you guys for joining me for another episode here. Please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think. Go on and hit that little subscribe button. If you just stumbled across this video and you've been watching this long, hit that little subscribe button. You know what I'm talking about? Go on and do it. Your boy's out here. I'm putting it down. So nevertheless, I appreciate you guys for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. and I'll check you next time. Peace.